Destiny. Stephen Bonelli the second. Des Stephen, don't call me Destiny, Bonelli Tiny the second. All right? A legendary figure. Legendary. Unparalleled in the internet space. And I want to share with all of you a little story about him. So, to those of you who don't know, I actually got my start on Destiny's stream. And by my start, I mean that my first taste of internet prominence of any sort took place on his streams. It started about 5, maybe even 6 years ago now. Yeah, probably. About there. It was in the wake of Gamergate. Back then, Destiny was a reactionary, and he was making some disparaging comments about Anita Sarkeesian. I had and always have been a fan of Destiny's, so I bullied my way onto his Skype, and we talked for a bit, and it was a decent conversation. And I came back again and again and again, and over the past 5 years, I've, I suppose, been on his stream about maybe a dozen or more times. Each time I went on, I accrued some minute following. And I, to this day, remain a fan of his, in spite of the fact that about a month and a half ago, I have been exiled from his community due to drama surrounding sexual harassment that I made a video on, which you should probably go watch. It's on my channel. Familiarize yourself with the context. Knowledge is power. Whatever the case may be. I was a member of his community for quite a long time, and I made a lot of friends there. And eventually, Hassan Piker, a.k.a. Senk's nephew, a.k.a. Senk's nephew's friend's friend, noticed a prior debate that I had with Destiny on Destiny's channel. I went by Irish Laddie back then. And he looked at that, and he thought, oh, that's cool. This guy's cool. We should have this Irish Laddie guy on. So I went on. And the fallout from that conversation gave me the confidence I needed to start this channel. So, in a lot of ways, Destiny and Hassan are predominantly responsible for this. Well, everything that I've been enjoying here today. Everything that I've been enjoying over the past 4 or 5 months. It's been phenomenal, and I am incredibly thankful. I am also probably the largest lefty to have come out of Destiny's community, at least to my knowledge. Hassan had his own thing going on beforehand, so that pretty much just leaves me in terms of direct lefty offsprouts of Destiny's community. Destiny is not a leftist. He is a capitalist. Some call him a social democrat, some call him a neoliberal. In truth, it seems like his values change depending on how angry he is with any given group. And I am here to talk, at long last, after my exile, about some really stupid fucking shit he said recently, okay? Some really dumbass smooth-brained shit. Just some phenomenally stupid shit. Destiny, for those of you who don't know, is a phenomenal rhetorician, okay? I'm not going to downplay that. Destiny is funny, a quick talker, and he's very intelligent. If you take a look at his channel, you will see countless examples of his rhetorical skill broadcast across years of content. This really got started back in 2016 when Destiny, through a conversation with JonTron, essentially outed JonTron as a white nationalist and furthered a cultural divide that was already taking shape around that time. Destiny is, for better or worse, one of the representatives of the left online, particularly the dirtbag left, which is funny because he is not, himself, a leftist. Not at all. Not even close. He mostly plays video games, but the political content is what he's predominantly known for these days. If we go by what's most popular, I've never actually done this before, so I don't know. Old videos. We've got his JonTron video, him talking with Jesse Lee Peterson, him talking with No Bullshit, him talking with Brittany Venti, Lauren Southern, Andy Worski and Brittany Venti again. Here's him talking with Sargon of Akkad 2 months ago. A Trump supporter, another Sargon of Akkad fucking response to a Ben Shapiro video, response to a Steven Crowder video, Dick Masterson, Ben Shapiro, Lauren Southern, No BS, Nicholas Fuentes, Roaming Millennial. It goes on and on and on. Destiny is a good debater. He really genuinely is. And he says that he debates to find the truth of the matter, that Destiny himself is not politically invested in the positions that he holds. I doubt that. We all have our biases. But he says, and he seems to be fairly consistent on this point, that his motivation for these debates isn't to promote leftism or destroy fascism or anything like that, but rather, simply, to find out what the truth of the matter is, to uncover lies, to shame people for being for acting and speaking in bad faith, just to find the factual truth of the matter. Now, of course, this is not a holistically consistent position. There is no single truth of the matter when it comes to complex political economy. You have to go into theory. You have to go into interpretation. And this is where Destiny struggles, because despite having access to a phenomenal realm, just a unbelievably wide range of leftist figureheads who he could speak with to discuss theory, Richard D. Wolff, one of the most respected leftist academics alive today, I believe has actually said that he would be willing to speak with Destiny. I could be wrong on that. I could be overstating, but it would not be surprising to me if Wolff would do so. Wolff has spoken with far smaller figures than Destiny. In spite of that, Destiny does not speak with these figures. Destiny does not engage with theory. He does not engage with literature. And this is where Destiny hits his big fat hurdle, because Destiny is now at war with his lefty user base. I take us back to this video. The capitalist arc of my streaming career. Look at this like to dislike ratio. This wasn't brigaded. This was his community. This is his pro-capitalist, anti-democratic workplace video, with essentially a 1/3 like to dislike ratio. I've never seen a ratio like this in a video of his before. And the reason why this ratio is here, the reason why this ratio is so bad, is because Destiny, having argued with fascist, after reactionary, after white nationalist, after white supremacist, after ethnostater, after race realist, identitarian, blah, 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 has accumulated quite a big lefty fan base. And Destiny hates his lefty fan base. He really, truly does. Look at some of his Twitter tirades. Look at some of the shit that he says on stream. He really does not like his lefty fan base. And over the past week or so, he has been going really hard on the left-leaning side of his community. I think, personally, that he does this because he doesn't like the fact that he has beget an association with leftism that is not merited by his personal values, one which is essentially a byproduct of association of him being anti-fascist, if for no other reason than because fascists are wrong and liars. So he's mad. And when he gets mad, he says some really dumb shit. So I'm going to stop wasting time with this intro, and I'm going to talk to you about this fucking video right here, okay? Because this is some shit right here. We're getting back to it right here. Been a while since I've gone over any dumb shit Destiny has said. So this feels like the good old times, you know? And now I'm doing it from my platform rather than from his. Admittedly, his platform is like 1,000 times the size of mine, but you know, what are you gonna do? Let's fucking do it, folks. Absolutely. Let's get into it. Now, this isn't prepared content like most of the videos I go over. This is going to be a compilation of things that he has said on stream. Meaning, essentially, his content's going to be as lazy as mine. So we're going to try and respond to that in spite of this. I'm going to move myself up here because I know I'll be blocking his camera.
Destiny, read the comments.
Maybe not.
I'm sorry, guys. Workers are fucking stupid. They are. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know how anybody can disagree with this. I don't know how anybody could work a job.
Gotta cancel my own chat for a hot second. Nope, that's not what I want to do at all.
And come away thinking, yeah, my fellow coworkers are so smart, I wish they ran the workplace. I don't know who could possibly fucking think this, besides white college kids that haven't worked jobs before. I'm being elitist. I acknowledge that. People in the comments start shitting on you saying that you sucked as a worker. I was an amazing worker. I was the best. I challenge you. Even Rachel, who will roast me over everything, when we were talking in the house, would not roast me as a worker.
To groups of people based on.
Destiny took one chance to hack into the workforce and he couldn't do it? I had 3 different jobs. Wait, what does he mean I couldn't do it? Wait, what? because I've happened to be streaming for the majority of my career, so my opinion was valid up until 2014, I guess. And then after that, I've been...
Manage these nuts on your chin.
Oh, wait, you can just hover the names now. Oof, that's an easy one. That sounds like a personal attack. 2 personal attacks. That's it.
So here he is banning people from his subreddit who disagree with him. Let's take a look at his actual Twitter comments, huh? So he recently went on a fucking tirade. Let's go back, okay? Oh god, he really went off on it. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Fuck, get these lefty dipshits off my Twitter feed. Stop following me, fuckers. Because arguing against dumb capitalists is easy, we can go to the empirical data and look at the results. Arguing with lefties is a fucking nightmare because I have to defend my very real and very flawed capitalist world against your utopia that exists only in books. I disagree strongly with this. In my experience, it's harder from our position because we have to construct a flawless like facsimile of how a socialist system might work, in spite of the fact that nobody has ever done this. No one has ever just created a flawless and internally consistent economic system from theory alone, whereas capitalists can rely constantly on the argument that socialism has never worked in practice. But to each their own. Destiny over the course of... Whoa! Destiny, I love when you talk about LGBT stuff. Wah, please don't hurt my views of lefty society. Please, we're really going to violently take all the capital back, and workers are so smart they'll control it all and make it better. Wah, snore. So this is pretty cute right here. We can take a look at this. We can take a look at most of the tweets. Sorry, dogs, but workers are fucking stupid. The lefty worship / idealization of the average worker is so fucking uninformed it can only come from white college kids who have spent too much time on YouTube. Do lefties actually work real fucking jobs? The average worker doesn't know anything about how to manage or supervise. Most people only learn their very narrow trade. That's why most people are contractors instead of business owners. Talking about how regular workers are smooth-brained subhumans compared to their managers. My face when lefties think average workers can learn everything management does. My face when this guy's never worked with an engineer in his entire fucking life. It pretty much goes on. The extent, ultimately, in its totality, is that Destiny doesn't believe in workplace democracy. We're going to go through this video, and I'll pick it apart a little bit while we're watching it, but I'm going to try and form sort of a holistic summary of Destiny's argument and why it's fucking stupid as soon as I'm done here.
The 2-year ban. I feel I'm gonna start challenging this shit. We're gonna start making you guys. I'm getting really disgusted with this fucking all wages or all labor is theft bullshit. It's a real fucking dumb take, and I haven't seen like that cancer like being like spread as often as it is now. And I'm starting to see people just resort to it like verbatim, like this idea that like a CEO should make 1,000 times more than play. Why? Why not? What's the number? What should it be or what shouldn't it be? You don't understand. They're making all that money doing nothing because they're just stealing from the labor. Like the fuck, dude. Come on, you have to have a better, a non-fucking dipshit argument than that. Come on, dude.
A funny thing is, when Destiny appeared on the Kill stream a couple of months ago, he actually said that he has yet to encounter a reactionary who could counter-argue the all labor is theft argument. So in the past, Destiny has said things which flatly contradict the arguments that he is making now. He's very emotional.
I don't know. Fuck that shit. In many countries, the richest people aren't allowed to make more than 1,000 times the lowest. What, 1,000 times the lowest paid worker? That's a lot of money, dude. That means if your lowest paid worker makes $20,000 a month or $20,000 a year, then you can make $20 million a year. Don't you mean that number is a lot lower? Are you never annoyed or irritated by how smugly confident your community is in a lot of shit takes? I cringe literally every time I enter a debate room. Yeah, I guess like I wouldn't care so much if I was actually getting like real responses, but like, dude, so many of these fucking commie responses are so fucking cringy. Holy shit. Not to mention the franchise owners who make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, every year. Who the fuck opens a McDonald's? Who franchises a McDonald's and makes millions of dollars off of it? What the fuck? Like, I feel like none of these... I don't know. I get so triggered. And then also like these memes too. Dude, I feel like the jerk went way too far in the other direction. This idea that like, oh, anybody could be a supervisor or manager. The real hard work is doing the labor. That's the real hard work. Dude, having a good fucking manager or having a good supervisor, like, can make a huge fucking difference in a lot of work. Also, the jobs that like people in management do are a lot different than the jobs that the normal fucking frontline workers do.
Keep in mind right now that Destiny is replying to a straw man. Nobody who believes in a democratic workplace believes that everyone should be a manager. That's kind of contradictory. Who would you manage if everyone was the manager? Democratic workplaces aren't about everyone being a manager. They're about everyone being an owner. There can still be fair and meritocratic distribution of labor and responsibilities in a democratic workplace. It's not as though everyone would share the exact same responsibilities. That's ridiculous. Nobody argues for that. But it's the straw man that he's constructed and as arguing against.
And the idea that any frontline worker could just all of a sudden become a manager is so fucking stupid. Political. This doesn't address my argument at all. Do people learn better through doing? Sure. Does that mean that you could make any frontline employee a fucking supervisor and they'll just pick it up and do it? No. What's more, worker-managed enterprises are 40% more efficient than equivalent small business or small enterprises, and they're always more equitable too. Wait, then.
Wait, seriously? Is my. Oof! In D.GG. Yikes! Mad! God damn! Woo! Woo! What are you gonna do? Some people just get upset really easily, you know? That's fine. Hey man, if Destiny gets real fucking upset when he sees my name, that's fine. That's okay. Listen, I'm a real sensitive guy. He's entitled to his feelings.
Why aren't there more of these? Then why aren't these popping up all the fucking time? I don't know.
If worker co-ops are good, why aren't they popping up everywhere? We'll think on arguments against that point in a moment, Stephen.
Understand. Because it's harder to organize because you need way more sources, small amounts of capital, I would assume. Okay, and that's where a capital owner would come in and provide the capital to make it easier to start a business. But it's not a co-op anymore? Well, I mean, that's... Am I just a...
Video's kind of quiet. Why do you people never tell me this when I begin the goddamn video? Hold on. I felt like it was a little bit quiet. Zoop.
Am I just supposed to read the book? Okay.
K-politics.
Okay, thank you for the
My
links.
country
I'll
is
archive
fucked.
those,
Read
okay?
bonus meme wowie.
Typically, people do read books to develop understanding. If every single time I'm presented with something, it is absolutely demonstrably bullshit, and then the fallback after I've shown how it's bullshit is, well, okay. I know that everything I just said was totally fucking stupid, but trust me, if you read this book, there's another explanation that actually makes sense.
I promise you, by the way, that as a lefty who has been following Destiny fastidiously for 9 years, who's watched all of his debates, YouTube, Twitch, I'm a fan of the guy. Less so now that I've been kicked out of the community, but... I promise you, he has never landed a substantive rebuttal of leftist ideology. I understand this is an anecdotal, take here. I understand that, you can't really just trust me to empirically demonstrate this, and I can't, offhand. But I promise you, I have never seen him adequately deal with and respond to, leftist critique. Oh, Flavier, Vosh, can I have a hug? My new job let me go because I had a panic attack today and my family might lose these. Oh, Jesus, Flavier, I'm sorry you're going through that, comrade. I give you an internet hug. Best of luck, okay? I hope things work out for you.
I'm sorry if I'm a little bit not keen to waste my time doing that. A lot of complex ideas take more than a fucking abstract or 2-hour conversation to understand. Sure, but if you say something and it's demonstrably not true over and over again, and then you retreat to, okay, well, if you just read a more complicated book, it'll make sense. It smells like shit, dog.
I don't know what comments Destiny is referring to that have been proven demonstrably false that leftists then run back behind their theory to defend.
Do you not understand that? CEOs should make more than 1,000 times the frontline employee. Well, why? because they're not worth that much. Well, how do you determine what they're worth? They need a living wage. What the fuck does that have to do with what I just said? Well, because everybody is entitled to a living wage. Okay, but how does that relate to anything we just talked about? Okay.
These are some aggressive straw men. I'm writing this down on the back of a receipt from CVS so that after we're done with this shit fucking video, I can respond to these points.
You're so dumb, Destiny. You don't even read a book, okay? You're trying to understand really complicated things, and it's not just a 2-hour talk. You gotta read a book. Like, what the fuck? Why didn't you just open with that? If you have no arguments, if you can't defend any of your points, if everything you're saying is fucking stupid, just start with that next time. Don't waste my fucking time. Just say, hey, Destiny, honestly, this fucking economic theory is so fucking obscure and so fucking niche and esoteric that you're never gonna understand it unless you start reading. Just start with that immediately. Don't.
There's nothing niche and obscure about Marxian economics, which have changed the world more foundationally than almost any other form of theory in the history of humanity. I cannot even begin to describe how foundationally revolutionary and influential Marxian critique has been to basically all theory. Economic, anthropological, sociological, political theory. It literally fucking revolutionized the world and kicked off, like, everything. The fucking China, Vietnam, Korea, Russia, Cuba, South America. There are countless examples of massive geopolitical upheavals that have been built off the back of this theory alone. The idea that it's niche and esoteric is a wild fucking straw man.
Don't barrage like a fuck ton of dumb fuck bullshit stupid fucking answers and then retreat to, okay, well, just read a book after you realize that everything you've just said is fucking stupid as fuck, okay? We're getting to the capitalist arc of my streaming career, okay? It's coming up even more than recently. Oof, nice. That looks like a personal attack to me. Ooh.
Panning
You know
people
what
on
they
the
say?
subreddit.
A good lefty is a banned lefty. To be fair, explaining concepts is a skill in its own. It's why people suck at teaching math and shit. You know it's true. Engaging in literature and literature is the best way to understand something. Pulling retards on Twitter. Well, sure, but like when everybody gives like dumb fucking answers, it kind of makes me feel like it's a fucking waste of time. I don't give a fuck.
Keep in mind that people are aggressively encouraging Destiny to talk to like Richard Wolff and other incredibly respectable Marxist theorists here, and he refuses to do so because he doesn't find the conversations interesting. So the idea that like the world is not bringing Destiny the best arguments for leftism is flatly not true. He's just refusing to engage with them.
And the conversations just aren't fruitful. Like when you say like a CEO shouldn't make this much money. Okay, well, okay, chief. What the fuck is the answer? What do I do with that? Right? If everybody on Twitter started saying that a CEO shouldn't make so much money. Okay, wow. What do we do with that? How do we take that piece of information and do anything good with it? Right? Well, there's nothing positive that comes from that. Like rhetorically, nothing good comes. Like literally, nothing positive comes from that. What if instead people spam shit like, we need to be pushing for negative tax rates, or we need to be pushing for socialized healthcare, or, oh, okay, well, these are actually policies that we can enact that will demonstrably help people, that will make positive changes in American society.
Lefties
These are
never
things that are
talk
good.
about these
Negative
things.
tax rates seem to be things that most economists support. Things like social healthcare, socialized healthcare, seems to be things that most people support. Like, these are good policies to push towards. Saying that a CEO makes 1,000 times much of a frontline employee, especially when that CEO is the leader of a company with 2 million fucking employees, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that piece of information other than get mad? Like, you haven't asked what policies the guy would want implemented. Holy shit, you're treating the fucking...
Again, I want to say, I know I'm not commenting very much on this, but the reason for that is because this is not a structured argument that Destiny is presenting. He's just arguing with his chat. Meaning that, like, if I respond to him point by point, it'll come off really, like, like, wild and frenetic. So I'm writing down the points, and I'll get to them when he's done with this shit.
You haven't asked what policies the guy would want implemented. Holy shit, you're treating the fucking... I don't know who that guy is, George. Listen, I understand that you're sucking that dude's fucking dick, that you've got fucking 50 loads of this guy's fucking cum boiling in your stomach, but I have like a 5 million fucking dipshits responding to me. I'm sorry that I didn't pick out like your one fucking champion lefty, okay, that just deposited his 72nd load of the night into your fucking ass, okay, that I didn't respond to your one guy that fucking messaged me on Twitter. I didn't even see it, okay?
I wonder where my aggressively sexual rhetoric came from.
I've got like 7 million fucking dipshit lefties that are all like spamming my shit with dumb fucking takes, okay? Chill. Holy shit. Destiny chat, what is a co-op? Traditionally, in a capitalist structure, you have a capitalist, you've got somebody that provides capital, so maybe like a business, maybe like a restaurant, maybe like a grill, maybe stuff like that. He provides something, and then he brings in other people to work for his business. Since he owns a share of the business, the money that he makes comes from the people that work his capital, right? A co-op means that a group of people come together, and then they collectively, cooperatively own property, instead of having a capitalist come in and provide that capital for them. So cooperative is just a bunch of people owning a business, like an employee-owned kind of.
So he just acknowledged that, and that's correct. Co-op is people collectively owning a business, not collectively managing it. I'm not entirely sure why his Twitter tirade had so much to do with collective management of a business then. Again, that would be nonsensical. Collective, what would that look like? 20 employees, to all 20 of whom are managers? Who's managing what? How are the responsibilities delegated? It's a nonsensical straw man. But he recognizes right here the correct definition of a workers' co-op. So I'm curious where he was getting that prior definition from.
He's the only one who provided sources. The first source he linked didn't have anything to do with what the fuck I was talking about. And the second source was a fucking book. Okay? I'm not gonna fucking read a book right now, okay? And I don't even think he said anything. He didn't even, like, say anything. He was just like, here's 17 links. You know, not even neoclassical economists make this claim, right? Unskilled work is really uncredentialed work, and learning by doing occurs in all jobs. This isn't even a response to anything I've said. I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this. Learning by doing. Obviously, I agree with this. What's more, worker-managed enterprises are 40% more efficient. Apparently, there's, like, capitalist structures that are reinforced by our current system. I don't know how. That's never been explained to me. If it is, I'm probably against it, though, because it sounds like it would make for an uncompetitive market.
Let's listen to that again.
There's, like, capitalist structures that are reinforced by our current system. I don't know how. That's...
He doesn't know how capitalist systems are reinforced by a current structure. Thinking. Normally this is a little bit beneath me, but Destiny is an intelligent person, and this is a wildly anti-intellectual statement to make. What? Apparently there are systems that reinforce... What? Okay, yeah. Oh, man. You know, in a respect, I actually feel somewhat responsible for this, because I was one of the more prominent lefties in his community. What, did I fail somehow? Did I fail to, like, bring the best arguments? I probably did. I was a lot worse at this, like a year and a half ago, when I would speak to him more frequently.
It's never been explained to me. If it is, I'm probably against it, though, because it sounds like it would make for an uncompetitive market. I'm generally against rent-seeking behavior, but this is a fucking link to a book, okay? I'm not reading this right now, sorry. Here's another book. Here's an article about bullshit jobs, which I don't know how this responds to anything I've said, but I probably agree that there are bullshit jobs as well. This book being, oh, here's another book, and then here's another book. Wait. Maybe this is just a paper.
Manufacturing
Or
Consent,
book.
one of the most well-known commentaries on... All right.
Here's another 655-page book. I don't care. Sorry, get fucked, lefties. You guys are fucking stupid as fuck, man. Fuck, you guys are so dumb. You're so dumb. I don't even believe you, actually. You know what? Without even being educated on the topic, I'm gonna say no, fuck off, okay? You should be able to explain things. Like, I'm a reasonably intelligent person. If you can't make me understand it in several fucking tweets, like, the general idea, and you've got to throw at me, like, 10 fucking books for me to even begin to understand your argument, you're probably full of shit, okay? Okay, let me play one league game. I hate lefties. I hate them all. I hate them. God, get him out of my audience. Get him out. Where's X kills me? Where's Laldemar? Bring him back. Hey, buddy, saying LOL lefties are done without doing the due diligence of reading leftist theory is a bit cringy. It's literally like a high schooler saying, LOL, I don't need to learn calculus. I'm never going to need it. Okay, but you realize, oh my god, it's been so fucking long. But I'm pretty sure that anything up through, like, Calc 3, you can, like, even if, like, explaining, like, the actual fucking formulas or whatever might be difficult, like, you can still explain, like, mathematical concepts so that people kind of understand, right? Like, or if we look at, like, derivation or integration, like, even without understanding how to do it, you can give, like, a rough explanation of how it works.
Your tweets are
right?
on fire.
Whereas, like, when people say, like, I can make you understand, like, a rate of change or whatever without you having to know how to do anything having to do with... I could probably make Nathan understand a rate of change without having to teach him how to actually do calculus. But, like, when you can't explain anything related to your fucking lefty theory without, like, barraging me with 37 links to different books...
Who do you hate more, lefties or right wingers?
Well, right now they're fucking in my community, so fucking lefties.
There it is, everybody.
But now here come the post. Destiny would literally rather have Hitler murdering Jews in the streets than kids advocating for wage reform.
So that was fun. Now let's get to the meat of it. Please, God, please, Jesus, God, Christ Almighty, Lord in heaven, let's get to it. Because that was tough. That was a toughie, okay? Oh, boy. This is everything I have to say about Destiny, okay? I'm going to lay it all out. Destiny is an intelligent and well-spoken rhetorician who has probably done a lot of good for the left. In this respect, he is a fucking idiot and a disgrace, and he falls well below not only my standards, but his own. I'm going to begin. For one, he comes off as a fucking reactionary when he talks about this. Now, this may not be a part of his moral system because he believes that he's obligated only to discover the truth of the matter, but I believe that it is, in a rule utilitarian sense, good to act in ways which benefit people, and bad in ways to act in ways which harm people. And when you are enabling the reactionary portion of your fan base, which Destiny does have, he was a reactionary several years ago, and he definitely carries that element of his fan base with him. If your confusion and frustration with leftist theory is causing you to act in ways that enable and embolden your reactionary fan base, you're probably doing a fucking bad, okay? Flat out. And I've seen this. I check his subreddit. I look at his Twitter threads. Even though this particular YouTube video of his is massively disliked, it doesn't change the fact that he is enabling a whole lot of people in his community who are taking that anti-lefty shit to its logical conclusion, okay? There are people in there who are making fun of leftists for other things too, like wage equality, like political reform, like egalitarianism, like progressivism. See, the problem with the culture war as it stands today is it's very, very difficult to critique one side of the aisle without unintentionally enabling the other side of the aisle. If you want an example of how to do this well, look at my fucking videos, because I constantly critique cancel culture, identity politics, oversensitivity, white feminism. Yo. I love you too. I constantly critique elements of the left that I think are fucking toxic, and nobody could ever accuse me of being a reactionary or enabling reactionaries, because I am very, very, very careful in every aspect of my behavior to avoid enabling the worst elements of human thought, okay? Even when I'm criticizing people who otherwise stand with me, all right? That's fucking point A. For point B, Destiny often presents himself as somebody interested in finding the truth of the matter. I could go over his fucking YouTube videos where he debates reactionaries, where he goes on the kill stream, where he talks with random dipshits that he brings on, and I guarantee you, in a very, very substantial portion of these discussions, he'll open with, yeah, buddy, well, I'm not really interested in, like, pushing a political narrative. I'm just really interested in finding, the truth of the matter. I'm just interested in finding out what's true. And there's nothing wrong with that, but in this respect, he fails as an intellectual. Because the way in which he has treated this issue, the way in which he has fucking relentlessly strawmanned leftist opposition, the way in which he has suggested that leftist theory should be boiled down to a few tweets for it to be palatable to him, is fucking hysterical, okay? I want you to imagine for a moment, just for a moment, go on a trip with me, go on a journey. Camera, move. Go on a journey with me, okay? Imagine that you weren't born in this capitalist society, global society that you live in today, okay? Let's say that you were born to an indigenous tribe in the Amazon, all right? And for some reason, you speak English so I can talk with you, okay? And you, having been born in that tribe, come to America and you want to understand capitalism. Is there any way I could explain capitalism in a way which compensates for its very obvious and evident failures and antagonisms in anything less than a book about as thick as I Am Tall? Of course not, because all of the subtle ways in which we pick up on the nuances and the misunderstandings surrounding political economy are baked into our interactions with that system. You can't just do it instinctually. You can't just say, oh, yeah, okay, capitalism is private ownership of the means of production, so we do the business, and the person on top owns it, and he can pay them, like, as long as he pays them the legal amount, but they compete for stuff. You can't do it. It's not possible, okay? And much in the same way that this could not conceivably be done, nor either could leftism be conceivably brought about in any, a few tweets? A single discussion? No, of course not. But destiny, and normally, hey, I wouldn't be that hard on somebody for this. Reading sucks. I don't fucking read. Normally, I wouldn't go hard on someone for this. The reason why I go on about it with Destiny is because Destiny has spent weeks researching discussion topics with people he disagrees with. He has spent weeks researching immigration and economics concerning immigration before his discussion with Lawrence Southern. I know that one at least for a fact. And there are several other instances in which he is engaged in thorough academic research to debunk fascist talking points, but he is himself not willing to engage in even a modicum of genuine intellectual engagement with leftist theory. When he engages with leftists, it's either accidentally when lefties come onto his chat during his weekly call-in stream, or because he gets affronted with, like, Hassan, for example, or me, back when I was a part of his community, and he would be openly antagonistic towards most lefty talking points. This isn't something that he has just done lately. He has always been this way. If you start talking about labor theory of value, if you start talking about, say, for example, undemocratic workplaces, what?
These are just all your gift cards.
Oh, this is where they were.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you.
They're kind of important, yeah.
Yes, definitely. If you start talking about, say, for example, the fundamental, like, all wage labor is theft, or if you talk about how all profit is exploitation, all of these things, he shuts down mentally. If you talk about these things with him as a leftist, he just stops thinking. He retreats into these syllogisms, these attacks, these antagonisms, which are designed specifically to save him the mental labor necessary for him to actually engage with the topics. And it is at this point, blessedly, that we must return to the actual subject of this video, which is about democratic workplaces. Democratic workplaces. What does this mean exactly? Well, a democratic workplace is pretty much the cornerstone of socialist theory. The idea is that businesses are collectively owned. Okay, follow through with me here. So rather than one person owning the entirety of a business, or in some cases a collection of shareholders if your business has gone public, rather instead, everyone who works there takes in a small share of the profit and the responsibility driven from running that business. Does that mean that every decision the business makes is, like, done to a fucking, like, a referendum? Of course not. It's a little more complicated than that. But it is not at all unreasonable to say that right now in this country, and in most countries under capitalism, businesses are run like tiny dictatorships. If you get a job, you go in for the interview, you desperately try and prove yourself worthy to the interviewer. Then you show up, you act as nice, placid, and friendly as possible to avoid antagonizing the people above you, who have absolute power when it comes to determining your, like, continued employment. There is no, like, chance for you to decide democratically what is done with the workplace. You have no say in what goes on, not with your shifts, not with your fucking work time, not with what the company does, not with your approach towards policy, not with your approach towards customers, not in your approach towards the way in which you engage with either of those things. It is completely undemocratic. And since I say the majority of a human being's life in a capitalist system is met engagement with their workplace rather than with their government, and our government is ostensibly democratic, and we ostensibly are a democratic society, it would make sense then that the institutions with which we engage most frequently, our businesses, should also be made democratic. I can back up this assertion by repeating talking points that I engaged in during my humongous, just tremendous, phenomenal video on workplace co-ops. Right the fuck over here. What, can I help you? No. Jesus, fucking tossing shit at me. This phenomenal shit right here. Are you fucking ready? Where the fuck is it? Where are you, Richard Wolf? Right here. Worker co-op research stream. Went over it. Have a link down here. Hey, turns out worker co-ops are more productive, produce better outcomes, are more stable, are more resistant to economic downturn, and provide much greater happiness and financial well-being to their workers. Seems like a slam dunk, right? Right? Well, yes. There's no catch to it. Worker co-ops are fucking sick. They're just better than what we have today. And if we essentially organized every business as a worker co-op, that would functionally be a socialist society, because there would no longer be any private ownership of the means of production. Obviously, it's a little more complicated than that. There is a little bit of, you know, like a scaling up, a little bit of economy of scale sort of management you have to engage in when you talk about worker co-ops being applied to massive, like, international conglomerates. But broadly speaking, this is pretty much the crux of the theory. Easy peasy, right? So why then is Destiny somebody who is ostensibly in favor of engaged, thorough, intellectual, consistent, and truthful research on any given issue he discusses, so fucking unaware of this? Well, in the video of his that we just watched together, and boy, he said some really some dumbass shit in that video, okay? He makes a number of comments that I can describe only as unabashed straw men, okay? So let's go over this. Let me just cross off these points. I'm doing this all on the fly. I never prepare any of my videos. First off, he makes the very fallacious straw man argument that democratic workplaces are in any way, shape, or form everyone being a manager. It's flatly not true. That's ridiculous. What the fuck? No one is saying this, okay? And that's why so much of his little tweet storm, we're talking about how most workers are stupid, dumb fuck, degenerate pieces of shit who can never understand such Herculean complexities as a scheduling chart, okay? He says it. You can go look at his Twitter yourself, all right? Now, I'm going to break this down. First of all, again, it has nothing to do with management. Second of all, more importantly, Destiny has an incredibly patronizingly low opinion of the common worker. And I do too. I think most people are pretty fucking stupid. The difference is, why? I recognize that most people are stupid because we have a horrid education system that exists to gear people up for jobs and not much else, and that our workplace education is relegated exclusively to teaching people how to be the best possible drone to maximize output for their capitalist owners. Easy peasy, right? People are products of their environment. If you teach people like shit, if you treat people like shit, if you incentivize people to do nothing beyond ascribe to learn that which they need to make the bare income necessary to avoid starving to death, then you're going to get people who are fucking dumb. Destiny, however, in his arguments, never, ever, ever concedes the point, at least not in the tweet storm that I saw, that the reason why most workers might be unprepared for the jump in responsibility that might be associated with a democratically representative workplace is because workers are just... It's because dumb. He never acknowledges that it might be because of any sort of like structural or systemic problems. He never acknowledges that it might be because the system is geared to train people that way. It never occurred to him, possibly, that this might be because people are trained to act like lapdogs, that people are trained to not give a fuck about their workplaces because they don't give a fuck about them. Why the fuck would they give a fuck about the workplace? That the workers are trained to do nothing other than meet the bare minimum of their own job requirement because the possibility of promotion is minimal, and the idea that the corporation will ever recognize anything of benefit done by them is completely fucking nonsensical. Life just doesn't work that way. Corporations don't give a fuck about you, okay? And everyone knows that. Everyone knows that these days. The people who pretend not to know that are the ones who are trying to use that good faith to put themselves in a position where they can one day themselves not give a fuck about the people who work for them. So why, Destiny? I know you're going to hear about this video. Our communities are too interlinked for you not to. Why are you so anti-intellectual on this? Why do you strawman like this? Why do you misrepresent democratic workplaces as places where everyone has to be a manager? And then why do you go so far as to explain the, I suppose, congenital stupidity of workers as being a product of their intellectual inferiority, rather than a series of systemic problems, when you're so willing to acknowledge systemic issues in your other discussions. Like, for example, why black people have lower IQs in America. You and I both know it's not because of their fucking brains. It has everything to do with their educational opportunities, about their income, about the neighborhoods they grow up in, maybe about the lead paint that they were earnestly licking as a child because of the substandard Section 8 housing many of them were born into. So why? I gotta keep moving my pen over. I just don't understand why Destiny would engage in straw men like this. It doesn't make sense to me. I really do think that Destiny is an intelligent person, you know, but I have a theory on this. In regards to his, I suppose, personal dissatisfaction, his personal antagonism towards like leftism as a concept. And I really do think it comes down to ego. I really, really do just genuinely believe that Destiny doesn't like feeling as though he's part of a herd. He's talked many times about how he doesn't like any kind of anti-individualist thinking. He doesn't like gay people identifying with the LGBT community. He doesn't like black pride. He doesn't like Latino pride. He doesn't like Asian pride. And to his credit, he doesn't like white pride either, even though these are not at all comparable things for a variety of reasons. But principally, he doesn't like any kind of group identity, and he often talks about how he's an exceptional individual who eschews group identity, who doesn't give a fuck about his family, who doesn't give a fuck about his culture or his community or his race or anything like that. He just wants to maximize his own personal well-being and discover the truth of the matter, okay? And to this I say, Destiny, you're smarter than that. Fuck off. You know perfectly well that you're a product of your environment just as much as I am, and you know perfectly well that you have, over the course of your life, benefited from the existence of group identities that you can move behind, like the gamer identity. I know a lot of people make this out to be a joke, but your conflation, your existence within the gamer community has lent you a tremendous amount of support and a tremendous amount of credibility when it comes to approaching gaming issues and issues surrounding the reactionary community, which was born largely out of Gamergate, because you yourself are authentically a top-tier gamer boy, okay? We all benefit from the existence of group identities. No man is an island, blah, 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 blah. But you have taken a particular dislike to leftism as a group identity, haven't you? Hey, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty antagonistic with lefties, too. You know how many of them I've ostracized, don't you? I mean, you have to know, right? I'm sure you know at least something about me after I broke off from your community. I've grown pretty quickly. So you know I, too, eschew group identity to a large extent. The difference is, I don't do it out of ego. I do it because I'm trying to levy legitimate criticisms against pernicious aspects of leftist culture. You're not doing that right now. You're not speaking truth to power. You're not improving anyone's understanding of an issue. You're lashing out against the leftists in your community because you don't like the fact that you've been associated with them after all the anti-reactionary shit that you've done. When you speak to reactionaries, you speak favorably of leftism. And when you speak to leftists, you speak contrarily to leftism. This is an ego position. This contrarianism is not driven out of intellectualism, and it's not driven out of a desire to understand. It's driven exclusively out of an interest to define yourself exclusionary to that to whom you're presently speaking. That's what you like doing. And there's nothing wrong with doing that on an individual level. Who doesn't like being a contrarian sometimes? The problem is, the way you're doing it is hurting people, okay? Because you have a responsibility as a public figure, and you know this. You have a responsibility as a public figure to be truthful, to be a good faith actor. This is by your own credence as well. I know you hate bad faith actors, and you're failing on both of those points right now, because the straw men and the anti-intellectualism you've engaged in fall well below the purview of good faith acting. Well below. So let's get to that, huh?
Also, you hit 2K viewers.
I know.
Okay.
So let's get to that, huh? With the straw men, the deliberate conflation of different lefty arguments, the use of rhetorical tactics that are meant to obfuscate meaning rather than elucidate, you're acting like a bad faith actor when it comes to leftism. Why? You know, one particularly ironic thing, or I suppose amusing, that I think you engaged in was you made the exact same argument that Jordan B. Peterson did when Jordan B. Peterson argued with Slavoj Žižek recently. Jordan B. Peterson came out to argue against leftism, and in doing so, he brought out a 10-point list against the Communist Manifesto, which is the most pathetically anti-intellectual and insubstantive response to leftism I have ever seen in my life from an ostensible intellectual. And you know what one of the stupidest things JBP said? JBP said that lefties believe that the proletarians are inherently virtuous and that all capitalists are inherently evil, and that if the proletarians took the power of the capitalists, that everything would just work out because the proletarians are good, so everything they do will be good, even if they have the same power. You made that same argument, buddy. You made that exact same argument against democratic control of workplaces. You said, and I'm not going to bother looking up the tweet, but if anyone cares, Destiny doesn't delete his tweets, you're free to look it up. He said, lefties are arguing that things would be better if workers controlled the workplace because workers are just inherently good and managers are bad or whatever. You said something to that effect. You literally made the same retarded fucking argument as JBP. And I'll drop that fucking R slur. I'll shit that right out of my fucking throat. Because that is such an unbelievably disingenuous, stupid, smooth-brained, dumbass fucking argument for someone like you to be making. I'm coming at this from a position of respect, Destiny. I mean, I've been told I speak a lot like you, you know. Obviously, my rhetorical skills are in large part a product of me being a fan of yours. I look up to you in a lot of ways. So could you please try a little bit harder to meet even a fraction of my expectations? Because that was a stupid fucking argument that you made right there. Let me give the proper form of this argument. No leftist, none of us believe that, like, workers are just, like, inherently good people or whatever. So, like, if you displace the capitalist owners and replace them with a commune of workers, that everything would just be good just because. Literally no leftists believe this. Not one. Not one. Okay? Find me such a person, and I will shit on them with you, Destiny. We can go back to back, okay? And we can both unload all over this person's face. All right? Please. Because when I hear this subject discussed, I don't hear people talking about workers being inherently virtuous. I talk about the structure of private ownership of capitalism being inherently exploitative. I hear people talk about how if we removed this system, not just replaced the actors and swapped who's in charge, that we would no longer have a system which incentivizes greed, myopic profit-seeking, and destructive sociopathic behavior. That's what I've heard argued. And you know what? I think that's a convincing fucking argument. We've discussed this in the past too. Here's an excellent example, okay? Let's say, for example, that a corporation could make more money if they illegally dump chemicals into a lake. Now, with the EPA being largely defunded and pretty toothless, let's say they could get away with this with pretty much no risk of government oversight catching them and fining them $10 or however much the EPA thinks is appropriate for destroying a piece of the environment, okay? If a CEO wants to do this, or if a collection of people under the CEO want to do this, the reason this structure incentivizes that behavior, which I will term antisocial for, I think, fairly obvious reasons, is because the hierarchical structure of the workplace means that people have a fiduciary responsibility to meet the interests of those above them. A CEO is going to make that call fairly often because a CEO has a fiduciary responsibility to maximize the wealth of his or her shareholders. What's more, maximizing the wealth of his or her shareholders is going to incentivize a bonus given to him. And what's more, because this is not a democratic system with no set of counterbalances, and pressure is coming from the top down rather than the bottom up, I think it's pretty easy to imagine how one person sitting alone at their penthouse glass desk... Huh?
Oh, can I have your stuff box?
Sure.
I'm organizing.
Yeah. And breaking my flow.
Sorry.
My wrapper flow.
I was thinking about it and wondering if I could duck under. Thank you.
I think it's easy to imagine how one CEO sitting in a penthouse office and in front of a glass desk considering how they can maximize profit for their shareholders, might be able to make that decision. But what about a democratically owned workplace? Well, now there's not one person at the top, and there are certainly no fucking shareholders to whom you have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize output and profit. Instead, you have a democratic council of people elected by worker representatives, and all major decisions made by the company are filtered through a democratic process. So what's more likely? One single CEO, wealthy and disillusioned to the interests not only of his workers but of his community. Yes, thank you. One wealthy CEO with no checks or balances making an executive decision to worsen the environment for personal gain. Or, in my system, a democratic commune of democratically elected representatives making a collective decision which has to be vetted on by the representatives and the workers of the company and discussed publicly, making the same decision to personally benefit each of them by a comparatively much smaller amount with no fiduciary responsibility and an inherent workplace transparency that makes involvement from the EPA and other regulatory industries much more likely. This is a slam dunk. This is easy. This is an easy argument for me to make. I am on every conceivable level. This is a slam dunk argument for me to make. But I personally have argued with Destiny on this subject several months ago, and he's just like, I just don't see how that'd make a difference. Like I have no idea how socialism could reduce global warming. This is a level of and I apologize if it seems as though I'm strawmanning him. I'm obviously not being particularly fair to him right now. I'm familiar with all of his arguments because I'm a fan of his. I understand much of my audience won't be, and the small sliver of his arguments they're seeing filtered through me are probably a little bit uncharitable. Like I've said before, he's an intelligent person and he does good work. But in this respect specifically, he's being intentionally stupid, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why, Destiny. Why are you doing this to us? Why are you doing this to me? This is easy. If you were anywhere near as intelligent and cogent on this issue as you are when it comes to arguing against race realists or like white supremacists, you would have a very easy time understanding the points that I am making here. Let's go back to the worker co-op argument. Earlier in the stream, in the video that we watched, Destiny said, if worker co-ops are so good, why aren't they everywhere? I don't know, Destiny. Maybe because there are some institutional pressures which are preventing corporations from democratizing and thus substantially reducing the extent to which the elite capitalist class can exploit laborers. I wonder what kind of institutional disincentivizations must be taking place in order to prevent the explosion of a pretty much objectively superior and more ethical form of workplace organization. Could it be that banks are disincentivized to loaning to co-op startups, and of a wide variety of reasons which have nothing to do with the stability of a co-op, which is higher than the stability of a traditionally owned business? Could it have something to do with the fact that our country is ruled by an elite capitalist class that has every single fucking interest at heart to disincentivize on a structural level the rise of co-ops because it threatens their bottom line? I can't imagine. But you could, Destiny. You could easily, if you put even a fraction of the amount of thought that you put into arguing with reactionaries into this issue, then you wouldn't be so flagrantly misrepresenting these obvious talking points from leftists. Why? Why? Why do you do this? I don't understand. You're smarter than that. I'm not asking you to go full leftist. I'm just asking you to not lie about obvious leftist talking points. Stop saying worker co-ops and democratic workplaces are about everyone being a manager. Stop saying that workers are all just like stupid and can't handle the responsibilities of making a fucking scheduling chart, even though that's not even what they would need to do. You're wrong on two levels there. Stop implicitly suggesting that the lack of worker co-ops in our society has everything to do with worker co-ops being bad and unviable, and nothing to do with systemic pressures keeping them out. You're smarter than this. Why? You don't even have to read literature. I've never read Das Kapital. I haven't read volume 1, 2, or 3. I've never done it. And I'm still more familiar with these talking points than you. It's not hard. You just have to open up your mind to a slightly different economic paradigm, to stop valuing GDP growth as the single sole determining factor of the health of an economy. Small changes you can make to your thought process simply to entertain a different way of thinking, not even to accept it, would allow you to have a much more intellectually consistent position on this particular issue, and yet you fail time and time again. Why? Why are you so fucking triggered by leftism? Why won't you talk to Richard Wolff? Why didn't you accept my suggestion months ago, before I was kicked out of your community, to go over a true socialist argument? I said, give me 2 weeks and I will research myself to the fucking bone, and we will have an extensive, thorough, intellectually consistent, data-driven argument on the viability of socialist business organization and of a socialist political economy. And you didn't accept it. You laughed me off. But you waste time talking to random dipshits during your random like pseudo lefties during your call-in streams, and you waste time talking to Hassan, which I love you, Hassan, is not that great at representing lefty talking points, flat out. Why? I'm not saying you have to talk with me. I don't want to be a part of your community anymore. Your community is pretty mad at me. You literally banned my name from your fucking stream chat for some god-awful reason, okay? I can't even begin to fathom how mad. I don't know if you did that or if someone else did that, but that's pretty fucking ass-pained, my dude. It's not like I send my community to go harass you, you know. Your community harasses me. I get little mini brigades in my chat. I lied about cake. Your sysadmin bragged about breaking into this website, vosh.gg, and hacking it. Your people make threads on me. Your people lie about me being sued by you because we used open source network architecture in a completely legal way with the permission of the users. Your community is the one who speaks ill of me, so I don't exactly know why you would ban my name from your chat. But if you're just upset, if you're just upset by mention of my name, that's fine. You don't have to take my advice on it. Take the advice of Richard D. Wolff. Take the advice of some other educated leftists in your community who I know are chomping at the fucking bit to educate you on these incredibly stupid fucking misconceptions that you bring up every time you get ass pained that you have unintentionally cultivated a leftist following. This isn't going away, Destiny. You're not getting rid of your leftist fan base. You're too important in anti-reactionary thought. But, I mean, you could keep throwing off your lefty fan base. Because if somebody likes your rhetoric, and somebody likes how you act, and they just wish you were a little bit more further left, I mean, I benefit from that. Who else? Nobody else benefits from that as much as me. But I don't want to make any of my community growth a part of your personal failings. I would rather you and I do different things at different times with equal levels of intellectual rigor and intellectual honesty. And you haven't been doing that. You don't have to read Das Kapital. You don't have to read the fucking bread book. You don't have to read Engels. You don't need to read any of this shit, okay? You don't need to read Lenin. This isn't necessary, okay? Nobody is... Well, no, a lot of people are saying you should do this. I'm not saying you should do this, okay? What I'm asking is for you to give leftism a god-honest chance. Because whether you like it or not, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, capitalism is dying. The inequalities and antagonism of capitalism grow worse by the year. Income inequality rises. The ridiculous extent to which corporate interests are met with government policy grows every year. Things are getting worse, not better. Bernie Sanders, if elected, is not going to put forward some campaign finance reform that is going to fix all of this. The system is broken, and this isn't the first time we've been here. This isn't the first time a system has broken, okay? Monarchies have fallen, theocracies have fallen, authoritarian dictatorships have fallen, and one day, too, we will fall. And when that happens, I want this population to be ready for what comes next. I don't know what kind of socialism it's going to be. I don't even know if it's going to be socialism, though I certainly would like it to be. But when that day comes, I want to have a community that is engaged, intelligent, and ready for the hard decisions that will need to be made when that time in history comes. And right now, you're not doing your due diligence, dude. You're being every bit as much the reactionary anti-intellectual that you claim to hate. You're ruining things for people just as much as you hate it when other people do, okay? You're no different right now than the fucking quartering, okay? Looking at some goddamn Kotaku article headline and ranting and raving and reeing about it for a 15-minute video. You're engaged in the exact same level of intellectual rigor. So stop. Just stop, okay? Because you're an intelligent person, and you can do better than this. Just stop. That's my rant. Now, I don't know if this discussion is going to have negative outcomes for me in the future. Destiny's community is a lot larger than mine, and there's enough of an overlap that I know people in his community are going to be talking about this. Probably they're talking about it right now, and they will be when this gets put out as a video, which means there's going to be a new resurgence of drama concerning this stuff. You know, again, you should watch my video on that subject in regards to recent drama. And I suppose I'm fine with that, because I would rather engage with Destiny's intellectual failings that feel as though I can't because his community has too much ire for me. That would be cowardly.